Exposed. My kids abandoned me during my hardest years, then discovered my life-changing legacy. Jack's heart sank as he looked around his empty house, once filled with laughter and joy. The walls that once held family photos felt like they were closing in, suffocating him with memories of better days. His kids, Mia and Jake, now teenagers glued to their screens, seemed worlds away. It was as if he had become a ghost in his own home, wandering through the silence that echoed like an empty factory floor. The weight of failure pressed heavy on him. Losing his job at the factory, the lifeblood of their small Midwestern town, had stripped him of confidence. He felt like he was sinking, while his children floated further away. The financial strain was palpable, as bills piled high and grocery budgets shrank. Each time Mia and Jake avoided his gaze, Jack's heart broke a little more. He was their father, but lately, it felt more like a burden rather than a protector. What had happened to their cozy family dinners or movie nights full of laughter? Now, they only exchanged strained glances, their once bright eyes clouded with unspoken shame. Determined to change direction, Jack found solace in serving others. He began volunteering at the local food bank, hoping his children would see his spirit and resilience. Every Saturday, he organized cleanup events in the neighborhood, rallying neighbors together. They laughed, shared stories, and rekindled the spirit of community that had once thrived in their town. Yet, despite the warmth he spread, Jack felt invisible in his own home. He was pouring his heart out everywhere except within his family. As weeks turned into months, the townsfolk noticed the shifts he was making, and Jack's unyielding spirit became a beacon of hope. But while he garnered recognition from the community, his children remained distant, casual observers of his transformation, but not participants. Jack felt like he was fighting to reconnect with them, yet every attempt seemed to backfire, leaving him feeling more isolated. Then, just when the town hit a financial crisis, Jack took a stand. He rallied for local businesses at the brink of closure, his voice resonating fervently at town meetings. The media took notice, highlighting his efforts to revive the small-town spirit. But as he spoke passionately about unity and hope, he glanced into the crowd and saw Mia and Jake, standing side by side, their expressions a mix of confusion and newfound admiration. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack's courage began to swell as he locked eyes with his kids. They seemed to be listening now, hanging on to his every word as he spoke about the need for connection not only in the community, but within families. His heart pounded, uncertain if he could bridge the chasm between them. Silence enveloped the room. Everyone waited with bated breath. They were watching him. But would this be the moment they finally understood the legacy he wanted to build, not just in the town, but right there at home? The question lingered in the air, overshadowing Jack's speech and leaving both the room and his heart teetering on the edge of possibility. Jack took a deep breath, the silence pressing on him like a heavy blanket. He could see the shift in Mia and Jake's expressions. They were leaning in, just a little, curious about the man their father had become. His voice trembled at first, but steadied with the weight of this moment. "Life has thrown me some curveballs," he began, feeling the emotions rise in his throat. "I lost my job, my confidence, and honestly, I felt like I was losing you too. The raw honesty hung in the air, and he felt suddenly exposed, but he continued. "But every setback has pushed me to fight harder, not just for myself, but for all of us." Mia's brows knitted together, and she shifted her gaze to Jake, who glanced back at her, then back at their father. Jack could see the wheels turning in their minds. He pressed on, "I realized that family isn't just about sharing a roof or a meal. It's about being there for each other. I want us to find that connection again." He shared stories of his time volunteering at the food bank, how families came in looking discouraged, but left with smiles, hope reignited. Jack's heart swelled as he talked about the ways he saw kindness bloom in the community, how they rallied around each other like a family. "I know I can't change the past," he said, "but I want to build a future we can all be proud of." The room was electric, charged with a new tension. Jack could feel the walls starting to shift, moving from an imposing fortress to a fragile bridge. He stepped down from the small podium and walked closer to his kids, lowering his voice now intimate. "It starts here. It starts with us. I need you both. I need your voices, your laughter back in this house. Let us not just be a family that exists separately. Let us be together actively." Mia blinked, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Jack recalled the afternoons when they would color together or play board games. They weren't just fragmented memories. They were threads waiting to weave back together into something beautiful. Jake, who had been quieter, shifted uncomfortably. He swallowed hard, the weight of unexpressed feelings brimming in the air. "Dad, I thought you were upset with us. We didn't know how to help." Jack felt his heart crumple at the confession. "I was upset, yes, but mostly with myself. I had to find my way back, but I should have reached out to you first." The words stung, but felt liberating too. "I want to be the dad you deserve. I will fight for that." Something shifted in Mia, a flicker of hope. "Maybe we could, work together? There are things happening in our school, projects we could start as a family." "Yeah," Jake chimed in, a bit more resolved. "If this town is struggling, maybe we can do something about it together. You're not fighting alone anymore." A rush of warmth filled the room, and for the first time in a long time, Jack felt that familiar spark of family. Could they truly revive the joyous chaos that once filled their home? Before he could respond, the moment was interrupted by a neighbor entering the community center. "Jack," she shouted, breathless. "You got to come quick. The town council is voting tonight on funding support for the food bank. They need your voice again." His heart raced as he turned back to Mia and Jake, uncertainty clouding his features once more. "I don't want to leave you two." Mia gripped his hand, squeezing it tightly. "Go," she said, her voice clear. "You've got to." And just like that, he felt the bond strengthen. As he left for the town council meeting, Jack's heart beat with hope. He was ready to fight for both his family and his community. But would he find allies in the council, and what new challenges would he face? As Jack hurried to the town hall, the chill of the evening air wrapped around him like a cloak. The streets were lined with flickering streetlights and a few families heading home after a long day. He felt a deep sense of urgency as he approached the building, knowing that tonight's vote could alter the course of so many lives. Entering the hall, he was met with a bustling crowd. Conversations filled the air like music, voices mingling in a symphony of concern and hope. Jack took a moment, leaning against the cool wall, taking it all in. Faces full of worry, older citizens chatting animatedly about the food bank's importance, young people eagerly discussing new initiatives. It struck him everyone was in this together. The room began to fill with a palpable energy. Jack could see his neighbor, Lydia, gesturing animatedly to a group of residents gathered near the front, her enthusiasm infectious. He spotted Charlie, the local carpenter, and Mrs. Hargrove, the retired teacher who was always keen on supporting community events. They were all here for a common cause. "Jack, over here," Lydia called out, waving him over. Declining any further hesitation, he approached her, the warmth of her smile easing a fraction of his anxiety. "We were just talking about you. Your speech at the food bank really fired everyone up." "I hope I can help tonight," he said, wiping his clammy hands on his jeans. "Did you guys fill out the proposals?" "Absolutely. But we need your voice. You're the one who can really inspire them to act." Her eyes sparkled with determination, echoing the spark he had seen in Mia earlier. Nodding, he followed her towards the front, but the knot in his stomach tightened. What if they didn't want to listen? What if he faltered? He looked out at the crowd, so many faces he knew, yet he felt like a stranger. The meeting began, the council members seated up front, their stern looks dominating the room. Jack listened intently as the agenda moved forward, voices rising and falling like waves. They discussed the budget cuts, the dwindling donations, and the struggling families relying on the food bank's resources. The weight of each word hung in the air, each statistic hitting Jack harder than the last. Finally, they opened the floor for public comments. Lydia nudged him slightly. "It's time, Jack." His heart raced as he stood up, the room falling quiet. Every eye turned toward him. He started, voice wavering, but he reminded himself of Mia and Jake, the hope blooming in their eyes. "I'm Jack, and I want to tell you what I've seen at the food bank. It isn't just about giving food, it's about giving hope. I've watched countless families walk out with renewed spirits." As he spoke, his confidence grew. He shared heartfelt stories of those who had found support where they felt abandoned, of laughter shared among strangers, the bonds that flourished amidst hardship. The room came alive, nods of understanding rippling through the crowd. "Tonight," he concluded, feeling the energy surging through him, "we have a chance not just to save the food bank, but to strengthen this community. We can show our families that they matter." A loud round of applause erupted, and Jack smiled, the thrill of connection washing over him. He felt the warmth of solidarity. Just when he thought it couldn't get better, someone yelled from the back, "We want to create a community task force to help together." His heart swelled. Could this be what they needed? A united front, built not just on charity but on collaboration and purpose? The idea ignited excitement in him, a vision blooming for the future. As the meeting continued with growing enthusiasm, Jack realized that this newfound sense of community could also be the foundation he needed to rebuild with Mia and Jake. But then, he watched as one council member stood up, a shadow crossing his features. "We can't make promises we can't keep. This is all just empty talk." Unless the words hung ominously in the air, an anchor pulling on the hope buoying Jack. Dread seeped into him. What was this member going to reveal? Would they stand against something so crucial? The crowd's acrimony began to flicker. Jack's heart pounded against his chest as he anticipated an unwelcome truth. What lay ahead could change everything. Would they really fight for what mattered, or would the council crush their dreams? Jack took a deep breath, ready for whatever storm was about to break. Jack's palms felt clammy as the council member glared out at the room, silencing the growing buzz. "This is all just empty talk unless we can secure funding. The reality is that our budget cuts are more severe than any of us want to admit." The air thickened around him, a tension that clung to Jack like fog. He saw the defeated expressions wash over those who had just moments ago been filled with hope. Lydia frowned, and a murmur broke out among the crowd, an uneasy blend of frustration and despair. "Let us be real, folks," the council member continued, his voice heavy with resignation. "We don't have the money. If you want a community task force, it's going to require resources we simply don't have." Jack's heart sank. How could they be so quick to give up? Now was the time to fight, not to fold. He felt an urgency again, just as he had when he first walked into the hall. "Wait!" Jack's voice rang out, sharp and clear even to his own ears. He took a step forward, feeling the eyes shift back to him. "What if we find new sources of funding? What if we reach out to local businesses? Organize fundraisers? We can't just sit on our hands." The room fell silent, and Jack's pulse quickened. The atmosphere was electric, people leaning in, listening. He pressed on, gaining momentum with every word that escaped him. "We can host events. Bring in the kids, show them what we're doing. Let us get creative. People want to help, they just need to see the need." His voice trembled, but this time not with fear. This was passion. This was what Mia and Jake needed to see, the spark of resilience rising from the ashes of despair. Then, a hand shot up from the back of the room. "What about social media? We can rally support online. Create a campaign." It was Charlie, his normal gentle demeanor shifting into an excited urgency. "Yes," Lydia chimed in. "We can create a GoFundMe and share real stories from the community, make it personal." The crowd began to murmur in agreement, quickening with energy again, each person looking at one another as ideas bounced from mind to mind like a lively ping-pong match. Jack's heart soared. This was happening. They were igniting the flame of determination. Hope began to bloom like spring flowers pushing through the last remnants of winter, but then, The council member opened his mouth again, this time with a hard edge. All of that takes time. Time we don't have. You think raising funds is that simple? What happens when reality hits? Time. The weight of the word settled heavily on Jack's shoulders. He thought about Mia and Jake, the dreams he held for them. He couldn't let this council crush every ounce of hope they had just built. Maybe we need to do something unprecedented, he said, his voice steady despite the rising tide of worry churning inside. What if we start a challenge? We could approach rival towns, show them we're stronger together, and make this a regional initiative. Let us not just fight for our community, let us prove to others we matter. Jack felt the energy shift, an unmistakable wave of enthusiasm washing over the room. Yes! Someone in the crowd shouted. Others began to echo it, their spirits rekindling with each passing second. Just then, the council member glanced at Jack, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. And if it fails? What then? Jack opened his mouth, but no words came out immediately. He thought back to where he had started, full of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. But he remembered the faces of the families relying on the food bank, the children's laughter that swirled in the air, even amidst the struggle. If it fails, Jack finally said, looking straight at the council member, then we learn. But if we succeed, he let the thought hang in the air, the implications vast and intoxicating. Then we change everything. The crowd erupted into cheers. Jack felt something shift in the room, the determined spirit of a community that refused to be defeated. But as the applause surrounded him, he could not shake the uncertainty hanging over them. Would they truly come together? Or would their plan crash before it even started? As the night stretched on, Jack knew they had lit a fire. But would that fire be strong enough to face the challenges ahead? The warmth of the room pulsed with a renewed sense of purpose, but Jack's mind raced as thoughts of logistics and challenges crashed down like a tidal wave. The cheers of encouragement faded into a distant echo as he grappled with the daunting task ahead. He felt a fire inside him, but it was tethered by the chilling reality of what lay before them. All right, everyone. Let us break into groups. Lydia's voice cut through the haze, her enthusiasm like a match against the dark. We need to figure out how we're going to do this, step by step. Nods and murmurs filled the air, energizing Jack as he stepped back and glanced around the room. Names and faces, different people he'd seen in passing, and those who he barely knew, each held a piece of the puzzle. Jack joined a group consisting of Charlie and a few other parents, each one determined to dust off their hopes and put them into action. Okay, Charlie said, leaning over a notepad, let us list out businesses we can approach for donations or sponsorships. I think I saw a few hand-painted signs out front, let us start there. Jack wasn't sure if they'd get anything tangible out of it. But he couldn't afford any doubt. We can also ask for in-kind donations from food to supplies for events. We need to cast a wide net. Let us make a list of everything we can think of, he said, his voice firm. They started brainstorming a rough plan to approach their local businesses. Charlie jotted down names while Lydia rounded up a small team to write letters. The energy in their small corner vibrated with a shared belief that they could make an impact. It was contagious, but amidst the action, Jack's phone chimed, disrupting the momentum. A quick glance showed a message from Mia. Just a simple text, asking if they could get together for dinner soon. His heart warmed at the thought of seeing her. They could talk about the challenge. Maybe they could even work together. But as the niggling worry resurfaced, the image of Mia leaving, the phone call that severed communication, worry seeped in. The deeper understanding that their home life had shifted, the parental bond strained by his fight to stay afloat, loomed large over him. Could he pull it together, not just for their community, but also for his kids? Jack. Lydia called, snapping him back to attention. We need your input here. He refocused his energy on the task at hand, and they continued. But as the hours ticked away and plans started taking shape, he felt the noise of external excitement morph into an underlying sense of anxiety. The pivotal question now loomed larger than ever: how would he balance this ambitious community initiative while reconnecting with Mia and Jake? The group scattered as people headed toward their designated tasks, an electrifying sense of urgency hanging in the air. Jack lingered for a moment, surveying the hall filled with expectation and stress. Could they really pull this off? Could he be a beacon for their community while facing his own family estrangement? The buzz shifted rapidly as Lydia raised a hand, calling everyone back to focus. Let us set deadlines. We can't waste any time moving forward. Jack felt a sense of determination wrap around him again, but it was still tinged with uncertainty, as if the fire inside him was flickering. He had to find a way to merge both of these battles, the community fight and his personal one, without getting burned out. Listen up, he called out. We can do this if we lean on each other. Our success depends on our strength as a team, on and off this stage. Let us meet again on Friday with what we've accomplished, and we'll take it from there. As cheers erupted once more, little did Jack know the very next day would test his resolve in ways he never anticipated. Just as hope surged forward, looming shadows began their approach, darker than he feared. Would he be able to rise to the occasion when life began throwing real punches? Jack lay awake that night, the weight of the community's expectations pressing heavily on his chest. He stared at the ceiling, counting the shadows that danced above him. Somewhere in the house, he could hear Jake's soft breathing, a reminder that while he was fighting to revive hope in their community, he was also struggling to reconnect with his own son. Morning, the sun blared through the kitchen window, illuminating the cluttered dishes piled high and unopened mail scattered across the table. As he poured a cup of coffee, Jack felt the usual chaos of morning, the kind that should have been comforting but now only felt chaotic. Hey, buddy, he called as Jake shuffled in, sleep still laced in the corners of his eyes. Morning, Jake muttered, reaching for a box of cereal. Jack watched as the boy poured himself a bowl, each movement slow and unenthusiastic. It struck him that this was not the same boy who used to burst into the kitchen every Saturday morning ready to explore the world. I was thinking, Jack started, trying to catch his son's attention. We might plan some family fun this week. Maybe go bowling? Jake shrugged, his eyes focused on the swirling milk in the bowl. I guess there was a silence, thick enough to slice. Jack felt a familiar pang of frustration, mixed with sadness. He pushed himself to break through. Your mom texted me. She wants to have dinner with us soon. A flicker of something passed across Jake's face, his lips twitched, but just as quickly, he masked it. That's nice. He could feel the tension in the air, thick as fog. Jack wasn't sure how to break it. They sat in silence, the grandfather clock ticking away, minutes twisting like pretzels. If he wanted to reconnect with Jake, he would have to peel back the layers of hurt and disappointment. I know things have been tough, Jack began, his voice steady and soft. But I want to do better. For you, for us. Jake's spoon clinked against the bowl, interrupted by a low sigh. You say that, but things keep changing. You want to always be there, Dad. The boy's words struck Jack like a punch. It was an unspoken fear that had stalked him, this idea that he was failing as a parent. I'm trying, Jake. Can we at least talk about it? But the moment slipped, just like their past days together. Jake pushed away from the table, retreating to his room, leaving Jack trapped in an empty kitchen with echoes of what could have been. As the day stretched on, Jack immersed himself in preparations for the community initiative. He poured every ounce of energy into gathering support, reaching out to businesses, drafting letters, all while the nagging fear sat heavily in his mind. What if his own family slipped further away? Later that evening, feeling particularly drained, Jack received another text from Mia. This time it wasn't as straightforward. Can we discuss Jake? Something's off. His heart raced, the gravity of her concern unsettled him, vibrating like a plucked string. Could there be something he wasn't seeing? Silently, he typed back, absolutely. With that simple exchange, Jack felt a swell of urgency. Maybe dinner wasn't just about rekindling fond memories, but about confronting the undercurrents threatening to pull them all apart. He needed to prepare himself, not just for a meal, but for the reality that awaited him, the unraveling truths he'd either have to face or risk losing everything. As he looked out the window into the night, the weight of uncertainty thickened. He could sense that each moment forward led closer to something inevitable, something vital. But what awaited him on the other side, he could only guess. Would he find healing in the chaos of their reunion, or would it open the floodgates to issues he wasn't ready to confront? The shadows loomed ever larger as he pondered this, setting the stage for an encounter that could change everything. What truths would be revealed when they finally sat down to talk? The next day dawned with a sense of looming tension. Jack sat at the same kitchen table, still cluttered and chaotic, but now it felt like a battlefield, every dish and scattered piece of mail echoing the unresolved conflict that nested between him and Jake. He could feel the weight of the conversation with Mia in the back of his mind, the urgency swirling like a storm. "Hey, Jake," he called, attempting to break through the tension like a lifeline. The boy appeared, hoodie pulled over his head, looking every bit like a storm cloud in human form. "Yeah?" Jake answered, avoiding eye contact. "We need to talk about dinner tonight. I know it may not be your favorite thing, but it's important." Jack's heart thudded in his chest. Each word felt like a step closer to the truth or another misstep deeper into the chasm that separated them. "Sure," Jake replied flatly. He moved toward the fridge, staring blankly at the contents. Jack sensed an opportunity slipping through his fingers. "What do you think about inviting your friends?" Jack pushed. "Maybe they do want to come?" Jake finally looked at him, eyes brightening for a fleeting moment before dimming again. "I don't want my friends there," he muttered, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. The disappointment in Jack's chest hit harder than he expected. Was Jake retreating further away, hiding in shadows from everything: his friends, his life, maybe even him? Jack tried to hold on to hope. "Okay, we can keep it simple. Just us three, you, me, and your mom." "Fine." Jake spun around and returned to the solitude of his room, leaving Jack feeling like an unwelcome guest in his own home. As the hours passed, he tried to focus on preparations for the evening's meal: chicken, mashed potatoes, and a salad, just like how they used to have it. He moved through the motions, but he couldn't shake the feeling gnawing at him. He practiced some lines in his mind: how to approach the dinner, how to reach out across the table and really get to the heart of what was eating at Jake. When Mia arrived, Jack's heart raced. She walked in, carrying a nervous energy that mirrored his own. He saw the lines of concern etched on her face. "Hey," she said softly, and he could hear the weight behind the simple word. "Thanks for coming." Jack gestured to the kitchen as they moved through the familiar space filled with memories. I didn't know how else to ask for help. They fell into a rhythm, preparing the meal together in silence, but it was a heavy silence, charged with the unspoken truths they both feared to voice. Every clink of utensils, every sizzling sound of meat on the stove, felt like a reminder of the walls that had built up between them. "Jack," Mia finally broke the silence as they set the table. "I'm worried about Jake." He acting different. More distant. "I've noticed," Jack replied, his stomach twisting. "I thought spending time together might help, but I'm scared I'll make it worse." Mia looked at him, and he could see the depths of her concern reflected in her eyes. "You love him, Jack. That's what matters most right now. The rest? It can wait." Her words hung in the air, full of promise and fear. He felt a flicker of hope burn in his chest, but it was only a flicker. Would they be able to hold on to that love during dinner? Or would tonight pull them apart even further? As dinner time approached, anxious energy crackled between them. Each second slid by slowly as they arranged the plates, the chairs, and tried to breathe life into the ambience. Just as they were about to pull out the chairs, Jack glanced at Mia, and he saw the question in her eyes. "What if we fall apart? What if the truth is harder than we expect?" He closed his eyes for a moment, imagining that slice of vulnerability, the moment of truth that could either bridge the gap or draw the line deeper. "Then we will figure it out together. Just like we always have." But beneath his words lay a depth of uncertainty. Could love truly mend what had frayed? At that moment, Jake stepped into the doorway. The air shifted. The three of them were colliding at a crossroad. Jack's heart raced once more as he braced himself for what was to come. Would they finally break the silence, peel back the layers of hurt, or sink deeper into the shade? The stakes felt impossibly high. Jack looked at Jake, saw uncertainty mirrored in his son's eyes. It was all going to come down to this dinner: the conversation, the emotions, the truths. As they all took their seats, the weight of what lingered in the air thickened. Jack swallowed hard, hoping for a spark of connection, wondering if this would be the moment that changed everything or ignited old wounds even further. Would they finally uncover the truth, or would silence shroud them in darkness once more? Jake took his seat, his expression a wall of uncertainty. The tension hung thick and heavy in the air, almost palpable. Jack could sense the weight of expectation and fear, each one colliding noisily in his chest. Could they really talk? Could they cut through this thick shell that had formed between all of them? As they began to eat, the clinking of forks punctuated the silence, each sound reminding Jack of the gaping void where conversation should flow. He looked at Mia, who gave him a slight nod, urging him to take the first step. Jake, he finally spoke, his voice shaky yet determined. I know things have been hard. He paused, searching for the right words. I want you to feel like you can talk to me. Really talk. I'm here for you, buddy. Always have been, always will be. Jake's eyes flickered, a moment of vulnerability, but it disappeared as quickly as it came. He shrugged, shoving a bite of mashed potatoes into his mouth as if trying to chew away the tension. I don't know what to say, he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia leaned forward a bit. That's okay, Jake. You don't have to have all the answers right now. Just tell us what you feel. We're all ready to listen. The boy's gaze fell to the table, tracing the pattern of the tablecloth. Jack watched, heart clenched tight. He could see the struggle. What hung between them was a tangled ball of hurt, disappointment, and a longing for connection. Jake's fork clinked loudly against his plate as he pushed it away. It's nothing. I'm fine. You're not fine, and we both know that, Jack said, his voice rising slightly with urgency. You don't have to pretend with us. If something's bothering you, we can work through it together. Mia reached out, her hand resting gently on Jake's. We love you, Jake. We're not angry, we're worried. We want to help you. You don't have to carry this all alone. A flicker of anger crossed Jake's face before he turned it down, hiding it back behind the cloud. You don't get it, he shouted suddenly, the words bursting forth like a dam that had broken loose. You guys are always so busy trying to fix everything. Sometimes I just want to be left alone. The room fell into a heavy silence. Jack felt his temples throb. We're not trying to fix you, Jake. We just want to understand what you're going through. Please. Tears brimmed in Jake's eyes as he looked at his parents, conflicted. It was clear he was searching for something between wanting to break free and needing them to pull him close. Mia's voice lowered, soothing yet firm. We can't help if you don't tell us how you truly feel. You're not a burden to us, you're our son. Just be honest. The tension shifted, the atmosphere vibrated with the possibility of truth. Jack held his breath, sensing they were on the brink of something crucial. He could see the walls around Jake begin to tremble, cracks forming against years of silent suffering. Sometimes, Jake began slowly, I feel like I don't belong anywhere. Not at school, not at home. Just lost. The words hit Jack like a weighted blanket, heavy and paralyzing. It was more than he'd anticipated. Jake's vulnerability pulled at his heartstrings. We're right here, Jake, Jack said, his voice cracking, the fight to stay composed slipping away. We're not going anywhere. Jake looked up, eyes shiny, breaths hitching. It was a call for connection in the midst of darkness. The words hung between them all, a fragile bridge, and in that moment, Jack realized how fragile their family connection had truly been. Would they bridge the gap, or would it all come crashing down? With the truth finally exposed, Jack felt a mix of dread and hope intertwine. What lay ahead could either heal them or further unravel the already fraying strands. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the other room. They all jumped, startled, as a collective gasp escaped their lips. What had just pulled them back from the precipice of honesty? Jack exchanged worried glances with Mia and Jake, an unspoken question resonating in the charged air. Did the shadows keep lurking, or was the light finally breaking through? The loud crash reverberated like thunder, slicing through the tender moment they were sharing. Jack instinctively stood, his heart racing. He glanced back at Mia and Jake, uncertainty spreading across their faces. What was that? Jake asked, a mix of fear and curiosity. The table slipped from their focus, the uneaten food forgotten as adrenaline surged. Stay here, Jack urged, his fatherly instinct kicking in. He took quick steps toward the hallway, where the noise had erupted. As he approached, he felt a nervous energy knotting in his stomach. What if something had gone wrong? He rounded the corner into the living room, the source of the noise revealing itself. A bookshelf had toppled over, books scattered like confetti across the floor. Jack released a shaky breath, relief flooding him. But soft sobs reached his ears from the other side of the room, pulling his attention. "Mom?" Jake called hesitantly, trailing behind Jack. His voice came out worried and small, the earlier tension still lingering. In the corner, Mia was kneeling, her fingers trembling as she picked up a family album. The pictures, their memories meticulously collected over the years, were scattered like leaves in a windstorm. A moment ago, they were on the brink of hopeful honesty, but now, the sudden upheaval threatened to pull them back into chaos. "Mia?" Jack stepped forward, his heart aching at the sight. "Are you okay?" She looked up, her eyes glistening with something more than just shock. "I was just trying to get this down from the shelf, but it slipped, and then I started thinking about everything." Her voice broke, and Jack felt the walls around his heart crumble further. Jake joined them, kneeling beside his mother. "Can I help?" He reached out, and despite their earlier distance, he extended his hand toward the photos. Mia nodded, the corners of her mouth trembling, fighting tears that threatened to spill. As they collected the scattered memories together, Jack felt something shift. The family was rebuilding a moment, stitching a thread of connection through their shared vulnerability. "These memories matter," he said, voice steady but thick with emotion. "They remind us of who we are." But the unexpected interruption had magnified the struggle. The air felt fuller now, charged with unspoken burdens. Jake picked up a photo of himself as a toddler, grinning wide with chocolate smeared across his face. "I don't want to be stuck in these old photos," he said suddenly, a glimmer of determination breaking through his earlier despair. "I want us to make new memories, but I just don't know how." Mia's next move was instinctual. She wrapped an arm around him, pulling Jake into her embrace. "We can figure this out together, Jake. You're not alone. We just have to start somewhere." Jack watched the two, feeling a warmth fill the crack in his heart. "We're a team, no matter what," he affirmed, taking a seat on the floor beside them. "We learn and grow together." A flicker of hope ignited in Jake's eyes. "Can we start over? Like a do-over?" His voice was tentative, as if he feared an answer that would shatter his hopes. "Absolutely," Jack replied. "Fresh starts are possible at any age." He wanted to tell Jake they could break free from the pressures of life together. They could craft a new path that welcomed all feelings: joy, hurt, laughter, and tears. As they continued to gather the photos, Jack could feel Jake's resolve solidifying. The air, once heavy with hesitation, now vibrated with newfound determination. They were standing at the edge of something transformative. Just then, the doorbell rang, slicing through the intimate moment once more. "What now?" Jake muttered, almost more to himself. Jack's heart raced again, anxiety creeping in with relentless force. Was this another challenge about to hit their fragile moment? Did they have the strength to face whatever lay ahead together? In that space of uncertainty, a flicker of doubt lingered. Who or what could be waiting on the other side? Would they be ready to confront it or retreat back into silence? Jack stood up, wiping his hands on his jeans as he headed to the door. With every step, he felt the anxiety ignite again. What if this was another sign of trouble? He hesitated before opening it, stealing a glance back at Mia and Jake, who remained on the floor, their expressions caught somewhere between curiosity and worry. As he pulled the door open, he was met with Lydia's familiar face, an excited smile breaking through the weight of the stifling silence. "Jack, you won't believe what just happened." He took a deep breath, relieved to see a spark of enthusiasm amidst the heavy emotions. "What is going on?" "They just approved the funding for the food bank. All that hard work, it's paying off." Her voice rang like a clear bell, breaking the lingering shadows in the room. Jack could hardly process the news. It felt unreal, the relief washing over him like a warm tide. He shared a quick glance with Mia and Jake, their eyes widened, hope flickering back to life. "Really?" Jack's voice barely rose above a whisper, his heart racing with excitement. What does this mean for our plans? Lydia's eyes sparkled with vitality. It means we can move forward with everything. We can launch those community initiatives, but we need your leadership, Jack. You brought us together. We can even incorporate your tasks and goals for the town, your vision for rebuilding families. In that moment, the weight of earlier conversations, the fear of losing everything, felt less pressing. Jack nodded, his heart pounding steadily in excitement for the future. We can do this, he said to Lydia, then turned his head toward Mia and Jake, who now rose to their feet, curiosity piqued. Mia's eyes lit up, a smile breaking through her earlier concerns. That's amazing, Dad. Maybe we can do the campaign together. People can hear real stories, just like the ones from earlier. Yeah, Jake echoed, enthusiasm rushing through him. We can make some cool videos and share what's going on. My friends could help. Jack felt a rush of warmth fill the room, the shadows fading further. The potential was bounding back. Absolutely. But we have to act fast. We can't let this momentum die. As they huddled together, discussions buzzing like electric current, the dinner that once felt like an impending confrontation now transformed into a collaborative springboard. The previous feelings of tension shifted into a dynamic energy, their hearts entwining through common purpose. Suddenly, Jack realized it wasn't just about the food bank initiative. This was a chance to reconnect with Mia and Jake, to build something tangible together, a legacy shaped by shared challenges and victories. You guys, he began, feeling his voice shake with emotion, we can make this community stronger, and that includes us. We can find joy again. Let us weave our family back together while we're at it. Mia nodded in agreement, determination flooding her expression. Let us find projects we can tackle as a family. Community tree planting, arts and crafts for the kids, maybe even family dinners out. Yes, Jake exclaimed, grinning. And get everyone involved, meet new people and invite them in like you did at the food bank. Jack felt a tear prick his eye. This wasn't just about revival anymore, it was about growth. This was the transformation he wanted for his family and community. They were no longer just subjects, they were pioneers of hope. Lydia, still lingering by the door, grinned widely. You've got a team here, Jack. Let us meet and start brainstorming. We can get everyone rallied tonight. Tonight? Jack looked over at his two kids, who were nodding encouragingly. Fear melted away as the excitement bubbled over. All right, let us do it. We'll set up a community meeting. As they began to outline their goals, their focus shifted, and Jack felt the anticipation grow. They were ready to share their ideas, open themselves up, and step forward into a future bursting with possibility. With the remnants of their earlier discussions simmering beneath their excitement, they realized they had become more than just a family sitting around a table again. They were a team, committed to each other, committed to their community. And as they set off to embark on this wave of change, Jack noticed for the first time the palpable joy lighting up his kids' eyes. That darkness that had once encircled their lives began to lift. They were exchanging smiles and laughter, glowing with energy over the journey ahead. I love you both, Jack said simply, feeling gratitude pulse through him. Thank you for sticking with me. As they stepped into the sunlight outside, the shadows vanished entirely. The world felt vibrant, full of opportunities waiting to be grasped, not just for their community but for their family. They had found their way back to each other through love, shared goals, and the courage to confront the past. The adventure ahead would be long and robust, but they were ready. As Jack looked into the sky, a smile danced across his lips. They were finally home. Before you go, you need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm, trust me, it really helps. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters, and only true fans understand the importance of rallying behind the channel. Thank you.